The places we live, work, eat, and play at usually feel like they will last forever. But when you're standing in a jungle in the ancient ruins of a stone house whose owners died thousands of years ago, you quickly realize nothing does. For centuries, travelers have chased this feeling. Being drawn to the monuments of our ancestors' ancient way of life allows us to reflect on the fact that nothing in this world lasts forever. And while countless ancient ruins are yet to be discovered, there are plenty of astonishing ones you should try to see in your lifetime. Here are 15 ancient sites that will blow your brain, and trust us, once you see them, your perspective will never be the same. Let's start off with number 15, Bagan, Myanmar. Bagan isn't just old, it's ancient on a scale that's hard to grasp. Imagine a vast plain scattered with thousands of temples, pagodas, and stupas stretching as far as the eye can see. Now picture hot air balloons drifting over it at sunrise, the golden light hitting centuries-old structures built by kings long gone. That's Bagan. At its peak, this city had over 10,000 temples. Now, about 2,200 still stand, each whispering stories of a time when Bagan was the heart of a great Buddhist kingdom. The best way to explore? Rent an e-bike and lose yourself in the dusty paths winding between the ruins. Some temples, like that Binyu Pato, let you climb up for panoramic views, while others, like Ananda Pato, hold enormous Buddha statues glowing under candlelight. But the real magic of Bagan? It's in the silence. No tourist crowds, no modern skyscrapers, just the wind, the distant ringing of temple bells, and the feeling that you've stepped into another era. Number 14, Tikal, Guatemala. Most ancient cities sit out in the open, but Tikal is swallowed by the jungle. Towering Mayan pyramids rise above the dense rainforest canopy, their stone faces weathered by time and wrapped in vines. The deeper you go, the more the jungle takes over. Roots snake through temples, moss carpets the old stone steps, and howler monkeys scream from the treetops like prehistoric beasts. Tikal wasn't just any Mayan city. It was one of the biggest and most powerful, home to over 100,000 people at its peak. Now, its massive plazas, palaces, and ceremonial complexes stand abandoned, yet eerily intact. Climbing Temple 4, the tallest structure here, gives you a surreal view. Miles of unbroken rainforest, with ancient stone pyramids piercing through the green. Tikal still feels wild. Unlike other ruins where civilization has crept back in, here, the jungle has the upper hand. It's as close as you'll get to time traveling back to the days of the Maya. Number 13, Ta Prohm, Cambodia. Ta Prohm is what happens when nature decides it wants its land back. Unlike other temples in Cambodia's Angkor complex, which have been neatly restored, Ta Prohm has been left almost exactly as it was found, swallowed by the jungle. Thick roots coil around stone towers, tree trunks split temple walls, and the entire place feels like it's being pulled underground by the earth itself. Built in the 12th century as a Buddhist monastery, Ta Prohm was once home to thousands of monks. Today, it's one of the most photogenic ruins in the world, partly because of its wild, overgrown look, and partly because it was used as a backdrop in Tomb Raider. Yes, the Angelina Jolie one. Some parts of the temple are still accessible, while others are crumbling under the weight of centuries-old trees. The atmosphere here is different from other temples. Number 12. Persepolis, Iran. If ancient cities had VIP sections, Persepolis would be in it. This wasn't just a city, it was a royal showpiece of the Persian Empire, a place where kings held massive celebrations, foreign dignitaries bowed before them, and unimaginable wealth flowed through its gates. Built by Darius the Great around 518 BCE, Persepolis was once covered in gold, silver, and colorful tiles. Now, time and Alexander the Great, who burned it down in 330 BCE, have stripped it bare, leaving behind huge columns, intricate stone carvings, and the remnants of once magnificent palaces. Walking through Persepolis, you can still see detailed bas-reliefs showing Persian kings receiving gifts from different nations. The famous Gate of All Nations stands tall, once guarded by colossal stone figures. Even in ruins, the grandeur is impossible to ignore. Unlike other ancient sites, Persepolis doesn't feel like a lost city. It feels like an empire still echoing through time. Number 11. Valley of the Temples, Italy. Sicily is no stranger to ancient wonders, but the Valley of the Temples, Valle dei Templi in Agrigento, is something else. A sprawling archaeological site filled with some of the best preserved Greek temples outside of Greece. It feels like stepping into a time machine. These Doric masterpieces, built between 510 and 430 BCE, still stand defiantly against the Sicilian sun, with the Temple of Concordia being the crown jewel, almost perfectly intact after 2,500 years. But don't just look at the temples. The ancient city walls and necropolises whisper stories of the people who once lived here. The site stretches over 1,300 hectares, so wear comfortable shoes, and whatever you do, don't show up at midday without water and sunscreen. You'll regret it. Agrigento may not get the same fame as Athens, but the Valley of the Temples proves it should. History, architecture, and jaw-dropping views, this site delivers it all. Number 10. Palmyra, Syria. Palmyra was once the jewel of the Silk Road, a crossroads of trade, culture, and power. Rising from the Syrian desert, its colonnades, temples, and grand avenues made it look more like something from a Roman epic than the Middle East. But the real story of Palmyra? That belongs to Queen Zenobia, the rebel queen who built an empire so powerful that Rome had to crush it. Her reign lasted 13 years, and her city flourished. Until it didn't. Palmyra's tragedy didn't end with ancient wars. In 2015, ISIS seized the site, reducing centuries-old temples to rubble. Today, visiting is nearly impossible due to Syria's ongoing war. If you're lucky enough to get a permit, you'll find a city of ghosts, its ruins battered yet still standing. A reminder that war, whether ancient or modern, never spares history. Palmyra is not just an archaeological site, it's a testament to resilience. Number 9. Skellig Michael, Ireland. If ever a place looked like the edge of the world, it's Skellig Michael. A jagged, sea-lashed rock rising out of the Atlantic, this remote island off the coast of County Kerry was home to some of the toughest monks in history. Back in the 6th century, they built beehive-shaped stone huts where they lived, prayed, and battled brutal storms. Getting there is an adventure in itself. Small boats navigate wild seas, and landings depend on the weather. Spoiler, it's often terrible. But once you step onto Skellig Michael, it's pure magic. Climbing the 600-plus stone steps, worn smooth by centuries, leads to the monastery ruins with heart-stopping ocean views. And if it looks familiar, that's because Star Wars was filmed here. But forget Luke Skywalker. Skellig Michael's real power lies in its raw, untamed beauty, and the history etched into its cliffs. Number 8. Rani Ki Vav, India. A stepwell sounds like a simple water reservoir, right? Wrong. Rani Ki Vav is a subterranean architectural marvel, a temple disguised as a well, descending 7 levels into the earth with more intricate carvings than some palaces. Built in the 11th century by Queen Udayamati in honor of her late husband, this isn't just a monument. It's a love letter in stone. At first glance, it seems hidden, but as you descend, the walls explode with thousands of carvings, Hindu deities, celestial dancers, and mythological stories, all painstakingly sculpted into sandstone. The deeper you go, the more the silence swallows you, until you reach the water at the bottom, once used for ritual cleansing. Lost under floods for centuries, Rani Ki Vav was rediscovered in the 20th century, now standing as one of India's most breathtaking UNESCO sites. Number 7. Leptis Magna, Libya. Imagine the grandeur of Rome, but without the crowds, the fences, or the over-polished ruins. Welcome to Leptis Magna, one of the most underrated ancient cities in the world. Located on the Mediterranean coast of Libya, this Roman metropolis was one of the richest cities of the empire. But today, it's practically abandoned. Founded by Phoenicians and Berbers, Leptis Magna hit its golden age under Emperor Septimius Severus, who happened to be born here. He poured money into his hometown, building massive forums, basilicas, and an arch that still dominates the skyline. Walk through the remains of Hadrian's Baths, sit in the 2,000-year-old amphitheater, or wander the decaying market streets. This place feels frozen in time. Libya's ongoing conflict has kept most tourists away, but for those who make it, Leptis Magna is a secret treasure chest of Roman history, waiting in eerie silence. All right now, let's move to number 6, Acropolis of Athens, Greece. The Acropolis isn't just an archaeological site, it's the symbol of ancient Greece. Perched high above Athens, this 5th century BCE masterpiece still dominates the skyline, a constant reminder of the golden age of Pericles. The Parthenon, the grandest of them all, was once a dazzling temple to Athena, its massive marble columns weathered but still standing tall. But the Acropolis is more than just the Parthenon. The Theater of Dionysus, one of the world's oldest theaters, once echoed with the works of Euripides and Sophocles. The Temple of Athena Nike, built to celebrate Athenian victories, still guards the entrance. The Propylaea, a monumental gateway to it all. Expect crowds, lots of them. Mornings get swamped, so visiting in the afternoon gives you a bit more breathing room. If you're here in winter, even better. And once you've soaked in the history, reward yourself with souvlaki and a rooftop sunset view of the Acropolis, because history is best paired with good food. Number 5. Nubian Pyramids of Meroe, Sudan. Egypt gets all the pyramid hype, but Sudan quietly has more, a lot more. Scattered across the desert like forgotten chess pieces, the Meroe pyramids belong to the ancient kingdom of Kush, a civilization that thrived alongside Egypt for centuries. These pyramids, smaller and steeper than their Egyptian cousins, once housed the tombs of Kushite kings and queens. Unlike Giza, there's no ticket booth, no lines, no crowds. Just you, the wind, and the shifting orange sands. Some pyramids have been decapitated by treasure hunters, others are beautifully intact, their entrances still guarded by hieroglyphic inscriptions. This place feels otherworldly, a silent desert graveyard where history lingers in the air. If you're ever in Sudan, don't skip Meroe. This is one of the few places where you can stand in front of a pyramid with no one else around, and that alone makes it worth the trip. Number 4. Rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia. Lalibela is what happens when faith meets impossible architecture. Hidden high in the Ethiopian mountains, this 12th century holy site isn't built, it's carved straight into the earth. 11 monolithic churches, chiseled by hand, linked by a maze of tunnels and passageways. Some say angels helped with construction. Honestly, after seeing it in person, you might believe it. The Church of St. George steals the show, a cross-shaped marvel sunk into the rock. It's one of those places that makes you stop in your tracks, wondering how humans managed to create something so perfect with medieval tools. The best part? These aren't just relics. They're still active churches, filled with chanting priests and barefoot pilgrims. Getting here isn't easy. It involves flights, long drives, and altitude. But every step is worth it. Lalibela isn't just history. It's a living, breathing, spiritual experience unlike anything else on Earth. Number 3. Ellora Caves, India. Carved into basalt cliffs over 1,500 years ago, the Ellora Caves are an engineering feat so audacious it defies belief. This isn't just a cave complex. It's 34 intricately designed temples, monasteries, and shrines cut straight into the rock by hand. What's even more remarkable? The site blends Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism, coexisting in the same sacred space. But the showstopper? The Kailasa Temple is a massive rock-cut structure dedicated to Lord Shiva, carved from a single piece of stone. To put it in perspective, this temple is twice the size of the Parthenon, yet somehow it was sculpted top-down, without modern tools. Unlike some ruins, Ellora still carries a pulse. Pilgrims still come here to pray, saffron-robed monks walk its corridors, and the scent of incense lingers in the air. If you want to see history, faith, and pure architectural genius collide, this is the place. Number 2. Ayutthaya, Thailand. Ayutthaya was once one of the richest cities in the world, a kingdom of golden palaces and towering stupas that dazzled European traders. Founded in 1350, it thrived for over 400 years until Burmese invaders burned it to the ground in 1767. What's left? A hauntingly beautiful city of ruins, where headless Buddha statues, crumbling temples, and giant prang towers rise from the earth like forgotten relics of a lost empire. Start with Wat Phra Si Sanphet, the royal temple, where 3 massive chetis, stupas, still stand in a perfect line. Wander through Wat Mahathat, where the famous Buddha's head entwined in tree roots sits like a logo of resilience. Ayutthaya isn't just about history, it's about atmosphere. Biking through the ruins at sunset with the silhouettes of ancient temples against the sky feels like stepping into another time. If you love lost cities, this is one you can't miss. Number 1. Petra and Sikh al-Barid, Jordan. If ancient cities had a flair for the dramatic, Petra would be the ultimate showman. Tucked away in Jordan's desert canyons, this city is hidden behind a narrow, winding gorge called the Sikh, a stunning natural entrance that builds up the suspense. And just when you think the canyon will never end, the treasury, Al-Khazne, appears, glowing in soft pink hues as sunlight filters through the rock walls. Carved straight into sandstone cliffs, Petra wasn't just a city, it was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, a thriving trade hub over 2,000 years ago. Today, its rock-cut tombs, temples, and staircases still stand, giving you a glimpse of a lost civilization that once controlled the Silk Road. But here's the secret. Petra isn't the only hidden treasure in this area. Just a few miles away lies Sikh al-Barid, or Little Petra. While smaller, it's equally fascinating, with narrow rock corridors and carved structures that once served as a suburb of the great city. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.